Hi, y'all. This is Laurie from smellymelon.com, and I am here with Laurie Collins. And let me give you a little intro. Not only is she my awesome sister, but she's also an actor, comedian, director, and producer. I know she performs improv and musical improv, which, if you are not familiar with, is the coolest thing ever. They make up a song from scratch and sing it with dance numbers and everything in front of people. It's amazing. She has appeared in numerous commercials, and she has produced an improvised children's bedtime storytelling podcast, which hopefully I'm going to get her to talk about at the end of this. But I brought her on because she was the easiest person to ask to do an interview, first of all, but she's also a creative genius. And
all right, Bob.
you are. You've been doing this for a while. You're a creative genius. And I wanted to ask you a little something about creativity.
Sure.
And listening to your body, or at least getting out of your brain, because I'm really interested in body wisdom and intuition. And I know the easiest way to get in touch with that is to stop listening to this. And so I thought you could probably offer some interesting things, especially in terms of improv. So why don't we start with improv?
Okay. By the way, I love what you are doing. So equally as fun for me.
Okay, good. So talk to me a little bit about how the brain can get in the way when you're improvising.
Okay, so the overall idea of improvising is this idea of yes and. You're usually always in a scene with a scene partner. Whatever they say is true. And you say yes to that and you add to it. It's a very positive experience, or it should be. Some of the first rules that people kind of teach you are like, don't argue and don't say no, don't stop things, just say yes to whatever that idea is. And so as far as, would you ask me, improv being
how your brain gets in the way. And it sounds to me like you're already starting to point out some of the ways the brain gets in the way by arguing.
Well, it's a matter of, I think, for me personally, improv, the way I like to improvise is through kind of a positivity. That doesn't mean every scene I do has to be all sunshiny. There can be arguing, but I say yes to the situation.
Yeah.
So my brain gets in the way when I overthink things. And when I overthink things, then I can't be honest in that moment in time. And so I find that if I'm overthinking, or I'm trying to be funny or witty or something inauthentic at the moment, it kind of backfires on me. And the audience knows that. They usually see that I'm being dishonest, so I don't get any laughs. So I usually like to think of improv in my approach is like, am I being honest in the moment to whatever character I'm playing? And if I am, then the audience is usually on board with what I'm doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and you're making the stuff up on the spot.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's so, like, nothing's planned. It's not like you approach your improvisation or your musical improv with like a neat idea of like, this is the character I'm going to play.
No. And the second you do that, everyone on stage and usually everyone in the audience goes, there's something false about that. Like it's planned or it's not true to the moment. And we see this all day long. Like we make observations all day long. When you go into the gas station, you can tell the clerk is just over you immediately. And you can make that, kind of assumption in a very like split second type of split second kind of moment. You can already tell that he or she is like next. If you're at a bar, somebody looks at you for a little bit too long and you're like, not in a creepy way, but you're like, I don't know, that person's open to me. So we use our instincts and communication all day long.
Yeah.
So when you don't mimic that on stage, or you don't act like in the moment on stage, the audience doesn't necessarily know why they don't trust you, but that's because you're not being honest to what the situation is, which is the reason why people laugh at you, is that they're usually seeing themselves in you. And that's usually the human condition, which we all share. That makes sense.
Yeah, so it's interesting because you're talking about it as instinct, and like when you are not allowing your instinct to come forward first, then it rings to the audience and to the person you're playing with as inauthentic or dishonest. Am I
Yeah.
understanding that?
Yes, for the most part, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so like that instinct, I think, is that intuitive piece, that body intelligence that I'm always so interested in. It's like,
Yes.
what is that? And I'm just so fascinated by how that supports your creative impulse when you're making stuff up on the spot. Like I suppose it can't come from
Yeah.
anywhere else, but talk to me more about that.
Well, I think one thing that makes you a good improviser is not that you're a funny person. Teaching all my classes, I always ask people on the first day, like, how nervous are you on a scale of 1 to 10? And like, tell me why. And most
Yeah.
of the people are like, well, I'm not a funny person. And they put all this pressure on themselves to be something more than they are on the first day of showing up at class.
Yeah, I've done that in improv classes.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
And I tell people that your job here is not to be funny. It's not to be somebody else. All you have to do is bring your listening skills into a scene, just starting with one word, just talking to another person, just honestly back and forth. And usually there'll be something funny that happens either out of a mistake or an observation or something like that.
Yeah.
But you just keep ping ponging back and forth, just being honest or true to what you would naturally say, even if you're playing a character.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be expected to be some sort of genius. You just have to come in and just be authentically yourself. And sometimes that backfires. I meet people who are, this is like when ugly stuff comes out. Sometimes people would respond with sort of like a sexist remark, and you
Oh,
go,
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. You're like, are you really that kind of person? But
Yeah.
it comes up quite quickly for some people. But most of the time, um, people don't do that. Occasionally, people will. But then you go, okay, maybe that's a part of that person
maybe that's
that needs
maybe that's
to.
part of them.
They need to work on that. But like the better improviser you are, just the more well read, the more sometimes social, more open. The better improvisers have like lived life,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's all I really like hope for people that are my students is to come in, just be a little more observant, a little bit more keyed into their scene partner, and to themselves. Then they'll be honest, and then the funniness will eventually happen, just out of circumstance or whatever. But yeah, that's kind of how, at least when I'm playing on stage, that's how I progress in a scene, is just being like, am I honest in this moment? And that kind of relates to all of their, like, my dating life and all of these other things, this like ripple effect of like, am I trying to be something that I'm not? Or,
Right.
or am I just being myself and hopefully this person will just like me,
Yeah. Wouldn't that be great?
Right. It's same thing with the job interview. You go into a job interview and you might, not really be, or you might be trying to be the person that you think they want.
Yeah, yeah.
But that never seems to work for people. So I feel like kind of the principles of improv kind of work in many other places, you know.
Yeah.
For
Yeah. I think
the
so
person
too.
who's not a comedian or whatever, it affects you if you just kind of think of it like that.
Well, you said something really interesting. You said to be keyed in, it's good to be keyed into your partner. And you said something earlier about listening as well. And I think, gosh, was that Jonathan Price who used to say, I think I read an interview from him and, he said something like all you have to do in order to act is listen. Like
Yes.
that's it. Just listen and respond.
Yes.
Um, and it just seems so hard for people to do.
Yeah.
Really, really
Well,
hard. So like how, I mean, it sounds like listening is like critical to your work and
yeah.
critical to even to the creative process of like generating new material too.
Yeah, because when you aren't listening, your brain tends to step a few steps ahead. And
Yes.
the magic that you miss when you stop listening between that moment and your brain thinking about the next few steps ahead, that could be where the magic was, and you just missed it.
Ooh, tell me about the
So
magic.
yeah, like if, for instance, if I'm doing a scene with somebody and I happen to be doing something that I think is funny as my character, or not think, but just like I'm just doing something and the and I just keep going on that selfishly. And
Yeah.
my scene partner might say something like, I love you, or something in that moment where I just like, that would be a big moment to miss, you know?
Oh,
And
yeah.
so I always try to like keep good eye contact and keep myself open to people, like on stage. But I know that I started out in life as a really terrible listener. So
Hmm.
I think all my work on stage has made me a little bit more, um, just, I don't know, more practiced at this active skill of listening.
Yeah.
And our brains function in a way where it's like when you're reading, you don't read one letter at a time. Your brain picks up all of it because it associates it all together, and that's why you can read a page. It's the same thing about like acting. Is like you can kind of put it, you can put it all together. Sorry, I'm getting resituated.
No worries. I'll
Um,
situate myself too.
yeah, but so sometimes we get ahead of ourselves and we breeze past things because we go,
Yeah.
oh, I know where that's going, I know where that's going,
Yeah.
I see where that's going. But you have to slow down to actually listen to all those beats, because that's where, I don't know, the interesting stuff is.
If you want to talk at all about any of your latest projects, this would be a
Oh,
great time to put it out there, or how people can find you online, things like that.
yeah, I have a Facebook page for me as a actor and an improv coach and all that. That's just Leslie Collins. It's me in a pink sweater with glasses on. And then I have a Facebook page for my children's bedtime storytelling podcast, which is We Love Bedtime Stories. And you can just Google We Love Bedtime Stories, welovebedtimestories.com, and you can actually listen to all of my stories there for free. But I'm actually, my stories can be heard on the Pinna Network, and Pinna is a children's subscription service. Uh, which is new from Panoply, which is a big podcasting network. So they have a children's division. So there's a lot of great content there. So that's another home for my podcast. So that's PINNA.FM if you want to look into that. I think that's it. Yeah, I have some other ideas and collaborating, and have been having some chats with some other people who are also doing podcasting for children's content. And so I seem to be pushing myself in that direction, and it seems to be exciting to me. So I'm just going to keep going in that direction.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. And thank you for being on this first ever video interview of mine. Thank you.
You're welcome. Love you.
Love you too. All right. I'm going to turn off this recording now. Bye.